Good day, guys. I hope you're all doing so well. So, on today's video, we're gonna deal with yesterday's budget speech address by the current so-called Minister of Finance, Godongwane. So, I'll just briefly give a proper summary and my perspective with regards to yesterday's address, and I hope you're gonna enjoy this video. Let us just start, guys. So, first thing first, talked about floods affected infrastructure, how the floods in KZN affected infrastructure and the economy of that province and South Africa around. And he talked about how the government assist the KZN government in terms of rebuilding those buildings. So I'm thinking of the issues that the current administration of Cyril Ramaphosa, guys. So I'm worried about corruption, obviously. He mentioned Ukraine and Russia war, obviously the effects of that war on our economy, plus inflation has been rising since the start of that war. So I guess we're in problem as Africans. But he said that he will make sure that he provide budget for infrastructure and growth of our economy. He has always been promising that. Maybe this time he'll deliver, I don't know. Then China locked down earlier because China is one of those economies that are very big in the world. They run the world actually in terms of the economy because China provides most of the goods and services around the world. So he mentioned that the lockdown earlier of COVID in China affected our economy and the world around the year, guys. And again, he mentioned that the economy, he's expecting the economy of South Africa to rise about 1.67 in the next 3 years. 1.67 of GDP. He promised, or he guessed maybe it's going to grow about that percentage. We shall see. And he mentioned about how investment will create jobs in South Africa. Oh, guys, since the Ramaphosa administration, okay, let me just say, since the start of democracy, so-called democracy, by the way, we've been having investments, and there's obviously was growth of economy. And right now, the effects of COVID-19. What do you think investment will do in terms of creating jobs? Because investment, they come through private sector in most of the time, because private sector is the one that creates jobs for South African guys, and we get robbed as citizens, as ordinary citizens of South Africa. So maybe investment will help, but Ramaphosa has been promising since 2019, hey, you must invest in this, you must invest that. But since then, even today, we are suffering because of what has been preaching of investment, but they're not working, by the way, as far as I'm concerned, guys. So he talked about he gonna provide he talked about crisis in logistics sector, so ports, railways, and yet he talked about that there's a problem in ports. Because ports, guys, are it's a distribution of goods and services around the world with the use of air, marine. They can use trucks, or like here, like for example in Prasa, there's a distribution of coal around South Africa and worldwide. So there are some destruction in that sector. Hence, we are experiencing load shedding. So maybe it's a sabotage. We don't know. So we talked about climate change and energy transition. So they're saying that due to climate change, we have to change. We have to transition from coal to renewable energy sources. So like wind, producing electricity through wind, solar panels, hydropowers, and stuff like those things. And he said that, remember earlier in 2022, the president of USA, United States of America, Joe Biden, announced the donation of some money, some sort of dollars for South Africa to transition from coal to other sources of energy, and which is something that is interesting because USA currently, or Europe is currently facing energy problems, so they want to use coal for electricity, which is something that is suspicious. Why do they want us to move away from coal? Why they still need it? Guys, these people, but they are playing with us, so they wanna. So USA is controlling South Africa, so they wanna play those games, So yeah, you shall see what's gonna happen. So he mentioned that South Africa is owing more about 4.7 trillion of debt, and this debt is going to be paid through taxes. So they're gonna tax us to come nice, guys. So this is gonna affect the fiscal revenue, which means the collection of debt, the collection of tax to the working class, for you guys. So you're gonna suffer a lot due to this debt that they are creating each and every year. After that, they steal that money for their own personal reasons, guys. So we are in problem as South African citizens. So you're gonna pay. We are going to pay debt that we don't see its positive effects on our economy or on creating jobs for ordinary citizens of South Africa. But guys, and he talked about 6.3 billion allocated towards disaster relief fund. So there in the Free State, there was a disaster of a wall that has fallen off the dam, and it caused some havoc to some of the homes of our people. And obviously in Durban, KZN, there was a horrific disaster that took place there. And he talked about 500 million set aside for Home Affairs digitization project. Do you remember, guys? They are hiring Home Affairs. I don't know if they are complete in terms of hiring people, but they're hiring for the papers from since from 1990s. So those papers, those personal information of our people to be captured on a digital system. So they are removing from paper to digital system, those papers. Yes, so that's employment. So that's for employment purposes. So you must apply, guys, for that, to those jobs. And he said that the government is going to offer pensionable salary increase of 3% for public servants. And on his speech ukuthi siyanizama uzizama kanjani ukuthi while abantu bethu bayasokola ngemali, uyazama uthi uyazama minister ngoqobo lakhe yesterday, guys, uthi uyazama. Guys, man. Then he talked about SRD extended by 1 year until 2024 March. So SARS at 350 grand is going to be extended in like for 1 year until 2024 March. So according to my thinking, this thing of 350 is going to be implemented for a long time. So it's going to be permanent. It's going to be called International Basic Grant for all people who are unemployed. That's the future of this 350 grant. It's going to be permanent, by the way, guys. So just look around it. So it's the plan to cut jobs so that artificial intelligence can come in, and if they cut jobs, they want to give us something to eat, 350 to eat in jail. So that, in my own opinion, they want to cut jobs around the world and create a new system of the new world order. So in that system, we will be given money, universal grant of each person who's not working. Yeah, that's how they want to control us. They want to give us money in jail. So this thing of 350 is going to be permanent for all worldwide. It's going to be permanent worldwide. So it's going to be implemented in all around the world, because of unemployment. It's a deliberate move for employment to be cut, so that they can usher in the artificial intelligence around the world. Guys, so look around, prepare yourself for that world. Yes. And again, we talked about state-owned enterprise. Remember, we have Eskom, SAA, Transnet, Dinel, and others, SABC, and so on. So he talked about Eskom. He said that Eskom, let me just check. Eskom crisis. He said that in Eskom, so they're gonna introduce electricity regulation amendment bill that allows the private sector, or IPP, independent power producer, to provide Eskom with electricity. So this gives private sector an opportunity to provide our government with electricity. So that is where the corruption comes in, because the private sector is going to eat our money. That's where the privatization of Eskom comes in, because private enterprise, if it comes in, it's going to privatize Eskom and will pay much more than we pay right now in terms of electricity bill, guys, as ordinary citizens of South Africa. So the plan here is to privatize Eskom So they want us to cry, hey, Eskom, load shedding, can't is a planned move, so they can say, just sell it, guys. You don't no longer need Eskom. Just sell it to the private sector. So they make a problem and come up with a solution after cartel as ordinary citizens. So it's a problem. We need to fight for our own state-owned companies to be reformed, to be okay, so they cannot be sold to the private companies and other international projects. Yes, then Trustnet. Talked about Trustnet is going to be given 2.9 billion to ensure the return of services for Trustnet. So they're gonna fix the damages that took place in Durban of Trustnet, the ports. Yes, the damage, they're gonna fix those damages and other railway system. So yeah. Yes, so yeah, man, and they want to privatize Transnet also. So we shall see. And he talked about Dinel is to be given 3.4 billion to stabilize the entity. So Dinel is that is a state-owned entity that deals with guns and stuff. So yeah, man, that the imports and export of guns around the world. So that company is a state-owned company, and they also want to privatize it. SAA is gone, guys. So we have by the way, SAA. We have an airport inside an airport, guys. This airport inside the airport is owned by the Oppenheimers. So SA is already captured, it's already privatized. Hence, a ticket from Johannesburg to Durban, as far as I'm concerned, is 3.4. A single ticket from Jozi to Durban is 3,400. So just imagine if they privatize Eskom, what's going to happen with the electricity bill on everyday life. So let us save Eskom before they take our state-owned enterprise. So let us save our sectors. Let us rise as South Africans and fight for our companies that are owned by South Africans. Yes. And in summary, do not talk about the land. The land issue is still at stake. Don't talk about anything about the land, on how people who are in poverty, obviously Africans here in South Africa, how are we going to deal with the issue of land, and how we going to grow our own food as Africans here in South Africa, and how it's going to solve poverty. In essence, he talked about private sector investments, growth of the economy. So we just talked about those things. So for he does not understand for the South African economy to grow, there has to be some investment in our local services. So these people, they're all about eating. They just want to eat and leave out everything to us after the collapse isn't to guys. So we shall see, man. Let us fight and stand up and find our own system as South Africans and support our own local plans for us to grow in our own space without the inclusion of the government, because they do not care about us as ordinary citizens of South Africa. So thank you guys for watching this video. So I don't want to talk about Ramaphosa, his address on Sunday, because he talks about corruption, but he does not address the issue of Phala. So I don't want to talk about Ramaphosa because so Ramaphosa, he talked about corruption, how he's going to deal with corruption. In the last few weeks, he talked about how he's going to bring about solution to the energy issues we are facing in South Africa. But even today, we're still facing load shedding. So there's no hope in Ramaphosa, because he also issues out promises, but he never deliver. So so let's not trust the government and fight and build our own system outside of it. So man, there's a lot happening in South Africa undercover, but let us voice out our thoughts. Let us say our pieces so that we can bring about these discussions on board and find solutions out of the problems we are facing. So you cannot just sit down and look while Ramaphosa, Mantashe, the Rupert, Oppenheimers, all of those capitalists, top class capitalists, are collapsing our country. So maslu na makabane akulwaneng into ayinana ya Africa ya rona into ayinana. So let us meet on the next video. My Africa podcast is related.